So you see a single social media post, right? It makes this wild claim about an assassination. And just like that, the entire world seems to hold its breath. Today, we are going to break down the story from a viral video that laid out this massive international incident. Now, just to be super clear, this is all unconfirmed, but wow, did it have the internet scrambling for answers. So let's just dive right in.
And here it is. This is what started the whole thing. A tweet, supposedly from Donald Trump, straight up announcing the death of Iran Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. I mean, think about that. This wasn't just some random statement. This was presented as the opening shot in a super dramatic and honestly really dangerous new chapter in world politics. All right, so when you make an announcement that big, it's never just a statement, right? No way. It's a message, and it's been carefully put together. So let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how this whole thing was framed, what story they were trying to tell right from the get-go.
The story they told was just one of absolute confidence. They didn't even call it an attack. Instead, it was framed as a great victory for the people of Iran. And the message really hammered home this idea of superior US and Israeli intelligence, basically saying, yeah, we could track him anywhere. He had no chance. And right after making that huge claim about their tech power, boom, a direct call to action for Iranians to overthrow their own government. They even offered immunity to any security forces who decided to switch sides.
And of course, to back all this up, the video showed what it called visual evidence. So look here. On the left, you've got what's described as Khamenei's residential compound in Tehran, totally intact. And then on the right, well, that's the aftermath of what's supposed to be a precision missile strike. The whole point they were trying to make here was the incredible accuracy of it all. This wasn't just a random bombing, it was a targeted surgical elimination. Okay, so if the US narrative was all about victory and liberation, Iran's response, at least how it's shown in the source material, was the complete opposite of surrender. Not even close. It was fast, it was aggressive, and it was basically a promise that a lot more was on the way.
And this quote right here, supposedly from Iran's UN representative, just perfectly captures that defiant attitude. I mean, listen to that. That is not the language you hear from a government that's about to collapse. That is a direct, barely hidden threat made for the entire world to hear. And apparently, these weren't just empty threats. The source video claims that it was only a matter of hours before missile strikes were launched on places like Dubai. But here's what's really wild, the digital counterattack. Khamenei's own social media account was supposedly still active, and it was posting videos of these revenge strikes. It was like a signal to the world. We're still here, and this fight is far from over. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, because this is the heart of it all. You have two completely opposite stories playing out at the exact same time. On one side, you have the story of a country about to have a revolution. On the other, a nation that's united in anger and grief. Let's take a look at how each side tried to build its own version of reality. So, let's start with the story being pushed in American media, according to the source video. The narrative here was simple. The Iranian people weren't mourning at all. In fact, they were celebrating what was being called their liberation. And to back that up, visuals started making the rounds, like images supposedly shared by Fox News, showing big crowds in southern Iran, literally pulling down statues of the supreme leader. Now, it's really important to mention that the video we're breaking down even says these visuals couldn't be independently confirmed. But, verified or not, they were a huge part of this side of the narrative. All right, now let's flip the coin completely and look at the picture being painted by Iranian state media. As you can probably guess, the story here was not about celebration. It was one of deep national mourning and total shock. And the imagery they put out was incredibly powerful. You had news anchors on TV openly weeping while reading the announcement. The source video even mentions that you could actually hear the camera crew crying in the background. This was so much more than just reporting the news. It was like a performance of national grief, all designed to show a country completely united behind its leader. So, with these two completely different narratives crashing into each other, you can bet the shockwaves started spreading, and fast. This was no longer just a crisis between two countries. It was pulling the rest of the world in, forcing everyone to react as the stakes got higher and higher with every passing minute. And this table here really gives you a quick and kind of scary summary of where things stood. You've got the US and Israel on one side claiming this huge victory. Then you've got Iran threatening to hit back even harder, reminding everyone its missiles could reach Europe. And then you have a major player like Russia jumping in, warning that this whole thing could spiral into a radiological catastrophe. And yeah, that's a pretty clear way of saying nuclear conflict. And all of this brings us to the massive cliffhanger that's really at the core of this whole viral story.
The world is on edge, and the narrative doesn't give us a neat ending. Instead, it just leaves us with a bunch of really terrifying unanswered questions. The video just leaves us hanging with all these critical what-ifs. Like, is Iran about to unleash its most advanced hypersonic missiles? Could they actually conduct an underground nuclear test just to show they mean business? And what about the US side? Will this push for regime change actually work? And maybe the most nerve-wracking question of all, is an attack on a US aircraft carrier coming? Because that would absolutely guarantee a massive all-out war. And that right there is the final, chilling question that this whole narrative hangs on. It paints a picture of a world on a razor's edge, a place where it's almost impossible to tell what's real and what's not. And the next move by anyone involved could send the whole region, maybe even the world, into a terrible conflict. So what happens now? Well, the story, as it's told in this video, definitely doesn't give us any easy answers.